you is what's your favorite thing about me? You shut up. I have the microphone. I'm just kidding, Brian. I'm just kidding. Okay, I'll make this easier for you. What is one of the things you love and appreciate about me, and what is one of the things that frustrate you to no end about me? Or did when I was 24?
I love your love for God. That trumps anything and everything. That no matter where you are, no matter what environment, no matter what position, it's all about your love for God. And that's what motivates you to be and do what you do. What was the second question?
What just drives you to know? What's the one thing you just kept having to pound in me, or you just like, man, this boy?
Well, it was nothing about you that frustrated me. It was because we were young. I mean, you were just young, and we all been there. If you don't remember how you acted when you were young, then you're not gonna. When you get old, you're not gonna be able to help young people, and you don't help young people by telling them they're wrong and they this and that.
I'm giving you permission. See, they see the 38 to 42-year-old version that has some experience behind them. Give them a peek behind the curtain of how I got here and how it wasn't always like this.
Well, you know.
Oh, I know. What's said here stays here. You said that last night.
But see, I want to be invited back.
Listen, you will, because you're my pastor. Like, you were the one who taught me. There ain't nothing you're going to do or say that's ever going to change this.
That's right.
So you already have they already like you. You're good.
All right. The thing then that frustrated me is that you were a know-it-all. You knew more than anybody in the room. And you did not read the room. You hadn't learned to read the room.
Right.
And when you were espousing great deep thoughts, everybody
Wisdom,
else
knowledge,
was
depth.
picking their nose and cleaning their toenails and ignoring you. But you just kept espousing and kept talking, and your value to us was incredible, but you didn't understand that you were a part of us, not just yourself. And too often as men, we don't value the team. We value what we bring to the team, but we don't value the team. But that's what's taught in life. You know, the way you get ahead is promote you. Yeah. You know, if you can't promote you, nobody else is going to promote you. And then when you find yourself in a room where there goes Corey again. He's promoting himself. He's letting us know that he knows something that we don't know. And what happens is, even though what you're saying is true, what you're saying is needed, you haven't valued the room enough to invite them in, that you want to hear them as well as them hear you. Yeah. And you hadn't proven to the room that you wanted to hear them.
Right. No, that's good. And the reason I asked that is because, we were just discussing this out there, is you noticed that, and there was a point in my life where the man I came to serve under had left, and I came to you, and I basically said, Hook, like I love being coached. I'm not a lot of things, but I am coachable. Mm-hmm. And I said, I need you to help me. And that was when you like really started going in on me every week after week after week after week. And I say as I all started saying, boy, you're killing me. Like that was every single time. But I benefited so much from that. And you really taught me a lot about that. And you had already created a safe environment where I could ask you that and not fear for my job,
right,
or not fear for my status, or that I was going to get kicked out of that room.
Right.
And so several of the guys have just already complimented and just they appreciate you being here. And I've said, this isn't just words for you. You embody this. Mm-hmm. So take us back a little bit, because I know your story. You were the craziest of crazy. You were heathen. You often talk at marriage conferences that me and my wife had no business being married, and no business being married to each other.
Yeah.
But you found Jesus. So I'm guessing it wasn't always like this for you with the brotherhood and the vulnerability. And I know it wasn't because of the stuff you told me about how you grew up with your family. Or was that already part of your DNA and Jesus?
Always been a team kind of guy. I played football 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade. Never started, just as part of the team. I loved being part of the team. I loved Friday nights. I love Friday night dinners. My name was never on anything, but I just have always enjoyed being part of something bigger than myself, even when I was a heathen. And then when I found Jesus, it just transformed my life because being part of the church and not just the church I attended, but to be able to go to a room full of guys, and I don't know anybody in the room, but I'm a part of this. We're about the same thing. It just stirs me, and that's me. I'm a team. I'm a rah-rah. Let's go do something together.
Were you always vulnerable and transparent though? Like, did you have?
I was
did you
foolish and transparent. I was. I was.
You love to tell the stories about what you did the weekend.
Yes,
You were that guy.
I had no problem confessing my ills because guys enjoyed that. You didn't get around with guys, and when you're unsaved, you just talk about what you did and you talk about what you did. But
Especially in the military.
Especially in the military. And then when you get saved, I had already established this pattern of being open and honest about my weaknesses, and I just never changed that. And I was secure enough in myself that I didn't need people to like me, but I was always likable because I love people. I wasn't always about myself. I used my weaknesses to draw us together. I listened to you. I cared about you. And see, that's the thing, guys. God made us. And sometimes we think it started when we got saved. No, God started on you long before you got saved. God started on me long before I got saved. God said I was fearfully and wonderfully made. God created me to be this man that I am. And the first 22 years of my life, I didn't know my creator. I didn't know how much he loved me. I didn't know that he had called me to be his son and to lead his people and be a part of the greatest organization in the world, the church. I didn't know anything about it. But then when I found out, man, that was all bets were off. Because now I'm a part of something that is indestructible. I'm a part of something that's going to last eternity.
The only thing that is.
The only thing. So when I get around, when I learn this thing about men and encouraging and challenging men, it's just a light for me.
Okay, so let's go to the how version for a little bit. So a lot of us are going, okay, I want what you're talking about. We see it in you. I think I even live fairly transparently. How? To a guy who's going, I want it, and I'm in. What would you say to somebody who's saying, Pastor, I've only ever had surface relationships. I can talk about the Cowboys and the Lakers for 7 hours and the weather and the golf, but I want what you're talking about. But I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50.
Yep.
I've never had it. I have God in my life. Where would I start? What would you say? A couple things, because I have a couple things I'll share, but I want to hear what you say first.
The first thing, guys, hear me. You got to know that you know that you know. If you know the why, then the how takes place. Right. Why is this important? Yeah. How many of you love going to the dentist? Love going to the dentist. Okay, there's the guy. That right there. How many of you go to the dentist? Why do you go to the dentist? Because if you don't, you're going to have to eat mashed potatoes the rest of your life. It's not something that you love to do. It's because you understand the value and the importance of it. Sometimes this idea about relationship with guys is the same way. Man, I know I need this. If I don't get men in my life, I'm going to be an invalid. Wow. If I don't get men in my life, I am not going to be what God created me to be. If I don't get men in my life, I'm not going to learn how to love my son. I'm not going to be able to model for my daughters what real love is. See, there's got to be a why this is important. It's much bigger than me. So for me, Corey, the first thing is, that's why I spent time today on the benefits of, you got to understand why this is important. Because if you don't, you're not going to do it. You're just going to settle for what you got because that's too much work. Just like going to the dentist. I don't want to go to the dentist. I don't care if I ever go to the dentist again, but because I like steak.
Real steak.
Real steak. Because I like eating, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure I can have a full digestion.
So what I hear you saying is answering the question is, to come to a men's retreat and have a pastor tell you you should is not a good enough reason.
It's not. It's not going to change.
Whether it's me or whether it's you,
Right.
whether it's Denzel or Denzel Jr. or whatever it is. But there has to be something in you that says one of those or two or three of those 10 things. I want to be who God created me to be. I want to be healthy. I want to have some like that. So I think that's good. Again, I had this conversation with a couple people. I would say this. First of all, there's no formula to it.
There you go.
Right?
Yep.
There's no 1 step, 2 step, 3 step. But I do think there are a couple things that you can do. And I can share a little bit of my journey. I grew up in a spiritual church. Pentecostal church, but we didn't talk about stuff. Like, no, we didn't go deep, it was praise God, hallelujah, that kind of stuff. And then I came to Bellevue, and it was like, whoa, you can say that in church? And so, but what I shared with one gentleman last night is it starts with the heart. One of the things I love that I always come back to is Samuel in the story of David, when God's picking the next king after Saul, and he says, man looks on the outside, but God always sees the heart. And so I think it starts with, if you in your heart actually want this, the orchestrator of all things, the architect and the creator of the universe, the lover of our soul, knows that. And most likely, if you're pursuing that, he's going to bring you in contact with some people.
And he wants it more than you do.
He wants it for you more than you do, right? And so I think that so it really does start for me with prayer. Like, God, I'm looking for a man or two that could be this, that I could go deep, that I could have this with. Now, I mean, wouldn't you say that you and I probably legitimately know tens of thousands of people each? Yeah. How many guys you got that you go that level with?
2 or 3.
Same. Yeah. 3 or 4. So out of 10,000, it's 2 or 3.
Right.
So it's not going to be just anybody.
Yep.
It's not going to be just everybody. But for me, I think prayer is for somebody's going like, how do I do this? It starts with a genuine prayer, not like, okay, God, my pastor told me to pray, but I want and need this. Will you direct my steps, and will you divinely connect me with somebody in the season of life or in this area where I feel like we have similar values, we're in the similar place spiritually, like we can be peers. Age doesn't have to matter, kids doesn't have to matter, but somebody who's going, here's where I'm at, and I can connect with them. And then this is where it gets a little bit trial and error, I think, is what we were talking about backstage, Joseph, is nuanced, is when you sense that, you got to be open to God and go, hey, maybe somebody who's definitely at this retreat, there's, 150 of us or whatever, going, hey, what he's talking about, I want, and I feel like, we've been in a group together, or, I see you at men's Bible study. You seem like somebody who maybe wants this too. Are you willing to give this a shot? And then you have to be intentional about it. Like, you have to make yourself go beyond Aaron Rodgers got COVID. Like, you have to go beyond whatever else. That's the thing this week, or whatever. And go, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. And then this is what I told somebody is you find somebody who you say, I'm going to agree to give this a shot, and then you try it. And here's the hard part for us guys is, and Joseph, I want you to grab the mic, because I want you to say what you were saying about being weak. Come up here, because that was really, really good. Somebody's got to jump off the cliff first. And what I mean is somebody's going to have to take the risk and be like, okay, so here's a bunch of stuff I need to get off my chest that I never told anybody, and by the time I'm done, you could ruin my life with this. Or you can meet me at that level of transparency and vulnerability, and now we have that bond. And for me, I got around some people that were already part of the culture you guys had established that went first, and I was like, oh, this is a safe place. And so you got to trust, though, if you've been praying, you find a Christian brother, and you have this conversation, hey, Vic, you seem like somebody who wants this, like, would you be willing to have lunch, and let's try to take this thing a little deeper. If they say yes to that, you're off to a good start. You're not looking for somebody who's like, I'm going to take this guy for all he's worth. His life is mine. And so I think you have to do that. And then the other part is, and I've seen a lot of guys do this, we're notorious. We think we're all tough, but we're a bunch of whiners and quitters. Because we'll try it one time, like, see, it didn't work. We didn't really connect. I was struggling, and he didn't text me. It's like, okay, so try again.
Yeah.
Don't give up. If it's something you value, if you value being healthy and you go to a doctor you don't like, you don't just be like, well, I guess I'm just going to die. You go get a different doctor.
Right.
If you go to a gym you don't like, then you find Fat Dad and he solves all your problems. You know what I mean? Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, my point is, like, we make it this, like, it's hard. I don't want to do it. Okay, I'll give it a shot. I tried it one time and it didn't work. And I think you have to continue to stick with it. But realizing, again, the more you get to see those benefits, and really what it is you do become who God made you to be. You walk more in freedom. You walk more in love, because now I know it's not just the creator of the universe, but there's a couple men who know everything about me and still want to play golf with me, still want to come to my church, still want to be in my small group, whatever the case may be. Talk about share what you were sharing about, like, strength and weakness, because I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I just talking about these relationships, as guys especially, we boast about being, we work hard. Hook was up here earlier. We love the
dude can bench press
superhero
a house.
tough element of things. So we love to boast about our toughness and how hard we're willing to work and how busy we're willing to go and push ourselves to the extremes. But then when it comes to these relationships, oftentimes, as Corey's talking about, we kind of wuss out on it. Like, it gets a little bit tough, it gets a little bit challenging, and we turn to like, well, I'll just do this physical hard work over here. And the thing that really is tough in the hard work is the thing we don't even want to say exists in the room, which is the emotional capacity that it exists. It's within us. And it's hard work, and it's tough work, and it's tough sledding. And in the midst of it, we kind of allow ourselves to actually be weak-minded and weak on the emotional level, and act like it doesn't exist. So in the midst of trying to portray this tough, superhero persona, we actually are willing to cop out and be the weak, kind of a weaker individual in the sense of this. When really it's like, build that resolve that Corey's talking about. Build that resolve within yourself to go, no, I'm willing to keep putting my foot out there, keep putting my hand out there, keep extending the invitation, even especially in the case that it gets tougher. Because again, this is what we're talking about. We did that value analogy a while back, right? Like, anything that's worthwhile, anything that's worthwhile is going to require blood, sweat, and tears. If it's not, right, the value of the trophy is not found in the price. It's found in the blood, sweat, and tears to get to it. It's the same with these relationships. The value is going to be found in the blood, sweat, and tears.
Yeah, that's really good. And it does. It takes a risk. It takes a challenge. But again, you have to be motivated by the why. Right. It's I can't. I'm not gonna not have this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not have this.
And to be honest with you guys, more often than not, it's not going to work the first time because you don't even know what you're looking for. You're trying to figure this thing out, and they're trying to figure. So it's not going to be this. Oh man, I met this guy, and we are on the same page. That's not reality. Right. It might happen that way, but it might not. That doesn't change the fact that you need it. Yep. Guys, hear me. It doesn't change. If it doesn't work out, that's okay. Don't. What was the word you used? Wuss. What does that mean?
Wuss out? You never heard that? Wuss. Don't be a wuss. I think that was Recess, circa 1992.
No, don't make him explain it anymore. Put the mic down.
But that's part of a growing muscle. That's part of becoming a man, is that you are not deterred. You don't give up because it's not what you think it is. Yeah. Sometimes you gain knowledge about learning what you don't want before you find what you want.
Right. And you also have to, when you agree, you have to come into it with not just, I'm just looking for somebody to dump on.
Right.
But I'm looking for it to be a give and take.
Yeah.
Not just, I don't want to be a taker, but it's give and receive. Like, right. I'm going to text you, I'm going to be there for you, and you're going to be there for me.
Well, again, formula-wise, that's not always the case. For example, I have men or a man in my life that he's there for me. I'm not expecting that. I just love giving myself to him. Yeah. So that's a relationship. Then there's we've had the
Paul Timothy
and the Barnabas kind of thing. I mean, there's just different things you're looking for. What we're talking about primarily is the Barnabas thing, where it's shoulder to shoulder, side to side. But there's different relationships. You might be in a place where you say, "Man, I have to grow in my relationship with my wife." So I'm looking for a man that's knocking it out of the park. Now, I'm not going to be able to tell this man anything about how to love his wife because I'm not there. But this man can hold me accountable and help me. So, again, it's one-sided. But he knows it's one-sided. I know it's one-sided, and it works. That's okay. It's not, I got to find someone where we're both at the same place. Yeah. It doesn't have to be there. It just depends on where you are and what you need at the time.
And so the nature of that relationship is one of many, not one and only.
Yes.
Yeah. And sometimes you're on the other side of that.
Yeah. Like sometimes you're the giver. Sometimes you're the receiver. Sometimes we're here for each other. I think we all need to hear for each other in relationship. We need that relationship where we're equal, where we're peers. That was one of Corey's challenges, is when I met Corey professionally, he was always the big guy on the pole. He was in youth ministry. He was the youth pastor, and everybody catered to him. So when he came in the room, what he said, it was like little biddies. They just wanted to hear what he had to say. So he had an audience that catered to him. Well, when he came to the big table where he was just one of many. We didn't care.
It was the adult table.
You know, when he spoke, it wasn't like we were saying, okay, you know, we wanted to hear it. No, it's
no one ever went in staff meeting. That's amazing. I want to write that down. But the kids loved it.
You know, but Carl was just so used to that environment. And when we became friends, I just felt it was my job to help him learn and grow in the peer that we were now peers. That it was no longer when he spoke, everybody was going to be there to listen to hear what he had to say. Even though it was the right thing to hear, you can't come off that way in this room around this table because we're all peers.
That's how it was. Hey, we got a few minutes. I don't know if there are any questions about anything. I wanted to we have some more stuff we could go into, but does anybody have it? Yeah, go ahead. Back here. Joseph, there's a hand back there.
Run, Joe.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for creating this sacred space. It's been wonderful. And in my table, I share some things that I hadn't shared with anyone, really.
Wow.
That was very powerful. So,
Can you give us your name?
Mario.
Okay.
Yeah. My question is, I'm 44. For 41 years, I kept a lot of things to myself. And I was carrying all that. I didn't let it go. I didn't forgive myself. And I started, over the past year, developing a strong relationship with a dude. And it's been amazing. And it took us about a year for him to actually, because there's a lot of blind spots that I have and unconscious behavior that I've been doing through my whole life. And about 2 weeks ago, he actually came up to me and said, he prefaced it for like a minute. Man, I hope you don't get upset. I hope I'm not intruding. I hope, this doesn't end our friendship. But he goes on and on and on about feedback that he wanted to tell me that I wasn't conscious of. These challenges that you guys are talking about. But it took us a year. So my question to you guys is, how do we listen well? How do we look at and feel all these emotions, all these traumas, all these survival emotions that we want to bring up to someone else and not take a year? And how do we approach it so that the other person takes it well? And how do we develop that trust so that we can actually even see the things that we need to tell the other person so that they can improve and love Jesus more?
Mario, those are some great questions. Mm-hmm. You want to dive into that?
One of the things I do, and it's a learned skill, is you got to learn how to ask the right questions. Because guys will give you the answer,